What's up, guys? Welcome
going on?
to episode 0002 of RC Spotlight. Let it begin. This week we've got some news out of the A-Scale Nitro Buggy world. The release of the JQ Yellow Edition.
The car.
The car.
Or the car? Or the car?
I guess it depends where you're from.
It might be the car, though.
Every time I hear it, I'm thinking like... Anyway, we've got... Actually...
There it is. Look at that.
We've got one. This is JQ's Yellow Edition. We never owned the original The Car or the revision, but the news really is what's different about this one. And from what I can tell from like JQ's mouth is that the first car had some durability issues and things like that were taken care of by the second release. The yellow is basically the durability issues fixed, plus a whole list of other things. We've got... we had to do some research because I had to really figure out what was different about this. So there's the chassis, first of all, is like narrower, a little bit narrow. They've extended out the guards. The body's a little different. The fuel tank's 2 cc's bigger, so you're not like running on fumes at the end of some of those longer mains.
But still legal.
Right. And some of the big upgrades is the clutch for the smoother clutch, a 3-shoe clutch system that comes included in this kit.
It's a little higher engagement.
Right. And from what I could tell from like, there was an interview with JQ about it. He was talking about there's some finer threads on the shocks.
Yeah, people complaining the shocks weren't smooth enough, so they went finer threads on there, and they said with a new machining process, new assembly process, it's a smoother feel on the shocks overall.
Right, yeah, and then so basically the clutch shoes, the way the clutch is on the Yellow Edition is just the way JQ runs it. And the smooth gearing, which is like the most important upgrade on this kit, from what I understand, is the smooth gearing changes the gear ratios of the differentials so that it accelerates more smoothly. And this, from what I'm told, is one of the top upgrades most people did on the original The Car. So if you have any questions, we'll be unboxing this on our RC Nightmare channel if you're not subscribed over there. And if you're an owner of the original car or the upgraded, the newer car V2, let us know down below what you think. All right, this week's What to Buy section, we're just talking a little bit about how to improve your experience when you're flying a plane. One of the things you can do is you can do an LED kit.
Right.
So what are some of the reasons other than the cool factor that you might do that?
Well, I say one of the main reasons besides the cool factor is that if you live in a place where there's a lot of wind, and here in Wisconsin it's like always windy, we never have time to fly. You can get an LED kit and just string your plane with LEDs, cover it with LEDs. It allows you to fly at night, which is a lot of fun. If you're comfortable flying during the day, you fly at night, you can fly. Usually it's a little less windy at night, so we can extend our flight time during the day.
Right, so the dusk or the dawn, if you're an early riser, the dusk time is a little more reliable in terms of keeping your, what's the word, like, not reference, but...
The depth perception of it?
Well, there's a word for it, but I can't think of it right now.
Orientation?
Orientation, right. So you actually can put red on one side and blue on the other, you know which wing's where.
Absolutely,
which is a great novice.
Some guys will follow the actual true navigation light scheme that real planes follow, and just extend that. They'll just put a lot more of it instead of one little light on each side of the wings. They'll just cover the wings, and then a lot of times we'll put white on the bottom of the plane because these white LED strips will just light up the ground. So it's a good thing to buy if you're playing, if you're into flying and you've got really comfortable flying during the day. I think you even started flying at night.
Yeah, that was probably the first way I think I flew that Super Cub was at night.
It's fun. It doesn't light up the things you can hit, but it's just fun to fly at night in general because the plane looks cool. It's like a flying circus show. So
Well, cool. And then so that segues into our tutorial section this week, which we've got a clip basically showing you this thing in use. We went out and recorded like a couple nights ago. So we'll roll that clip now.
Enjoy.
Crack it like a sham. So what's up, guys? This is Brandon and Jeremy from RC Flight School doing a little bit of a candid video for you about LEDs on planes. We like to night fly because we're not really free till later at night. And this is my Super Cub that Brandon outfitted with some LEDs. So tell me, Brandon, what's on there and like how does it connect?
Well, we're using strip LEDs, so these come on like a foot by foot basis, and you'll get, I don't know, 18 on a foot. And what we do is we just attach them to the plane, and you kind of pick like any convenient spot, something that would really stand out, and you kind of want to vary the pattern between the top and the bottom of the plane, obviously.
Do they help? Do they help even during the day too?
Yeah. These things are bright enough that even on, it could be really sunny, you'd still see them. But at night is where they really, really shine through, because we can do, like you said, night flying. It's a beautiful night right now, southeast Wisconsin. Perfect weather, and this is about the few times we get good flying weather. We got some LEDs on the fuselage on the back.
They all
kind of mark it out.
Do they all run off just the regular LiPo?
Yeah, so we're using the same flight pack, and what we've done on the side here, I'll give you a shot of this. We've tapped into the balance connector, and so we use the extra connector on the battery, the balance tap, to power the lights, and it's really easy to do. You're just using the two outside wires on the balance tap to get 12 volts to these.
So this is our standard flight pack. Take the balance plug. We got a little tapper right here. Plug it in.
Woo!
Yeah, that is plenty bright to see at night. So you can see we have two different colors on the ends of the wings, white and green. If I flip it over for you, we line the bottom of the wings too. So it's very obvious which side we're looking at, the bottom or the top. A few little decorations on the fuselage and a few on the tail, so we know what we're looking at.
Cool, well, let's take it up.
Yeah, let's get her in the air.
Hope you guys enjoyed that clip. Now we're on to the comments section. This is a part where you can interact with us by posting your comments down below. If your question is neat, we'll answer it. If it's not neat, we won't. So the first comment, I kind of grouped a bunch because there's a lot of them. By the way, great job hitting that like button on the last video. We have almost 400 likes.
A lot of likes.
Tons of comments. Yeah, keep that up. Keep the comments up, and we'll keep doing the show. So a lot of people ask, well, should I get this or should I get that? So sometimes it's like, should I get a Losi 5 or a Losi Mini 8?
Erroneous.
Yeah, we can't answer that. Don't even ask it. Then more specifically, people will say, should I get a Slash 2-wheel drive or an SC10? And how I answer it, and you're better because you work at the hobby store, but I always say, like, it doesn't matter. You can ask the question a million times. It comes down to how are you going to use it, what's available around you, where are you going to run it. Do you live in an apartment complex that you have to go to the track? Then maybe you want the FC10. If you have a lot of bashing territory and you don't think you're going to race, then get the Slash. But I'm interchanging brands. Really, it goes for whatever, right?
Yeah, well, that's great advice. If you're buying something just to race, get a race brand. Team Associated, Team Losi, HPI's Blitz. Mm-hmm. If you want to bash around, Traxxas is much better for bashing. They're waterproof. It's a great advantage. So you buy that. But there's exceptions. Sometimes, like our local track used to have a Slash class.
Right.
You just buy a box stock Slash, you could drive it. So if you have a collection already and you're looking to buy another one, it's not which one should I buy. It's what do you want to do with your next RC car.
That's right. What do you want to do? What do your friends have? Maybe you want something different. Maybe you want to have something the same. All that is really what matters. It's not a Losi Mini 8 or a 10 scale buggy. We can't answer that question because they're not the same thing at all.
Yeah.
It all depends what your local race classes have and all that stuff. So hope that answers most of them. Now, getting more specific, this one's from, I'm going to pronounce all these wrong, but I think it's cool to say their name. Gorbrunov123 asks, hey, I'm building my first RC boat. Do you know how to choose the right rudder size for the boat? My question is, why are you building a boat? That seems really hard to do.
I think it is really hard to do. So props to you, G123.
Props intended. So anyway, I'm assuming he means maybe he bought an RTR and he's thinking about, doing rudders. I'm not sure, but we'll try to answer it. I'm going to answer it by saying, Brandon,
Well,
how do I choose the right rudder size?
if you're truly building a boat from scratch, you're buying your hardware online. They sell these rudder kits really, really long, sometimes 6 inches or longer, and you just cut it down to size based on the hull type. Without knowing the hull type or what you want to do with it, you really don't know the right rudder size. You know, is this boat designed to ride with the prop halfway out of the water, submerged? All these things make a difference. So generally, if you're buying like a true offset rudder hardware kit, you know, they'll be like this long, and guys will cut them down accordingly. So
Be careful when you're cutting that stuff too, right? Because some boat stuff, we were talking about some of those, the props, you got to be careful. Don't go, you know, I don't know what the rudders are made of. I'm assuming they're like aluminum or
Yeah,
something.
usually.
But, you know, with props, you want to wear like protective stuff because you don't want to be breathing that
nasty
stuff in.
materials, yeah.
All right, next question. Question number 3.
This is from Malfeasy.
Yeah, Malfeasy. I have a question. What actually strips your spur gear on a Nitro RC? Most of the time, I'm just running and I notice my truck isn't moving anymore. I guess I'm looking for situations I should stay away from, maybe going uphill or such. Thanks.
They say thanks. I like that.
No, you're very welcome. That's why I will answer it. Polite questions are usually answered. My experience with it is really, it's not necessarily what you're doing as much as it is preparing, right?
Right.
Having the slipper, having the right tightness on your slipper gear, and things like that versus like going uphill.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They really, if you got a car set up correctly, the only thing that'll strip your spur gear is the mesh comes apart, and it will take a few teeth off. So if you have your chassis set up, maybe it's a little weak, or your chassis is cracked, which you don't see, but your motor mount could be cracked, or you flip it and then you crack the motor mount. But anything that'll pull the motor away from the spur gear will strip the teeth. The only other thing that I've ever seen at a Nitro is overheating to the point where it's actually melting the spur gear. That's got to be pretty darn hot.
That's why people run metal spurs, right? Then,
Yeah, a lot
you
of
know.
times you'll see that on there. That will help with it. But metal spurs won't solve stripping spur gear problem. It's just
That's
a
right.
Band-Aid. You just strip the metal one eventually.
So the key really is prevention. An ounce
Yeah.
of prevention kind of works here. Make sure you're checking it often.
Yeah.
Making sure that mesh is still tight. You can use a piece of paper test, you know, to make sure you've got good mesh, and really just check it often. If you're stripping spur gears a lot, you're probably not checking your mesh enough.
Yeah.
That's all I can really guess.
Check those mounts, Loctite them down. You should
That's
be
right.
good to go.
Question 4. This is from 450 HP 202 Turbo. We know you. We see you comment all the time. You love us, I think. What PC specs would you recommend for editing 1080p 60 frames per second video? As a $500 laptop, I'm assuming he's saying a $500 laptop, not going to cut it. LOL. But you raise a good point. So you may have the camera and the great shots, but without the hardware to edit it, it's going to make your day pretty tough. Well, the best answer I can give is, you know, before I got into doing my real job, I spent 10 years in a computer repair shop, building, selling computers back when the local computer repair shop could still exist.
Right.
The key with editing is most off-the-shelf computers you buy now will probably be able to edit it, but it's going to be slow.
Very slow.
Yeah, the key things you want in rendering video is high processing speed with lots of cores. So like our Thor computer, as we call it, the one we edit on, is the, I think, hex core P4. You don't need that. You definitely want to have something that's got 64-bit processor, and you want to have a good amount of RAM. RAM is the cheapest upgrade you can do. You can edit on a laptop if you want. I'm a PC guy, so I'm going to say go PC, but you know, Mac people will just say, oh, I can edit video on Mac. Sure, you can, but you have long render times too. So the important specs you're looking for is really a lot of RAM and at least a 64-bit processor, and not like a Celeron type processor, but a true Pentium 4, I think is really the key. And you can find laptops out there if you're comfortable building a kit or a PC. I think if you build an RC kit, you can build a computer.
Yeah.
$600 will get it done, I think. Almost definitely. If you go with like Newegg or something like that, you could definitely get a bare bones kit from there, or bare bones PC, and make sure you spend your money on your processor, your RAM, and your video card. I skipped the video card the first time, but video cards are important because some, for example, like higher end NVIDIA cards, they can do with Adobe Premiere, you don't have to render. It's got like pre-render stuff, but you don't need any of that. It's just you want a good video card, processor, and RAM. Spend your money there. You know, an extra 100 megahertz, that doesn't matter. An extra core, that matters.
Right, right.
Hope that answers it. I know it's broad, but
Well, I think basically what you're trying to say, and he's the computer guy, it's going to go from really long render times to long render times. Anytime you're doing 1080p 60 frames, I watched Jeremy edit, and
Yeah.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah, you basically have, almost a gigabyte of file size for, a couple of minutes of 1080p 60 frames a second video. So
Yeah.
remember, when you're uploading to YouTube, too, it's going to drop it all the way down to 24 frames a second. So the reason you want more frames, and I'll keep it short, is if you're going to do slow motion or something like that, because all slow-mo does really is cut out frames. And if you are shooting in 30 frames a second, you can't really slow it down that much because it doesn't have as much to work with. So that's why if you're shooting slow-mo, you want to opt for like a 60 frames a second, or on the GoPro 2, you can even shoot 90 and 720. That's going to be the best slow-mo stuff. But anyway, most computers will do it. Anything out nowadays. Question 5. This is from Parsons177. This might be a good question, Brandon. Yes, it probably is. I've been looking to buy a land. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm generally a land guy, but I'm looking into flight. I've been flying RC simulator all winter. Great first step, by the way.
Yep.
And I'm looking into buying a radio system that I can grow into rather than getting an RTF model. Very smart. What would be a good beginner/intermediate intro transmitter brands? And he's saying pros and cons. Do I use the AnyLink system? I think my 2 cents is if you're looking for something to grow into, you're not going to get the AnyLink system. The AnyLink system's great for plugging and playing into the small micros.
Yeah.
But my answer would be something simple like a DX6. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I'll adjust the
Or
AnyLink
Futaba.
system. Keep in mind that the AnyLink system works on any transmitter. That's why it's called AnyLink. So
You
don't
still
let
need a
that-
transmitter.
Yeah, don't let that influence your choice, because no matter what you end up buying, the AnyLink will work with it. That's the whole point of it. But in terms of pros and cons for different brands, I'd say as it goes right now, Spectrum has cheaper receivers than Futaba, and that's really all
Key
it comes
point.
down to.
Yep.
You really get with Futaba's new 6 they just released, you get about the same amount of screen sizes and features between Spectrum and Futaba. And the reason I'm kind of narrowing it down to those two is because everything else is it's not mainstream, so we'll stick with these two.
We actually really run them both. You have a
Yeah.
Futaba 7.
I have a 7C, and
then
we have
this-
Spectrum DX6Is, and I've
Right.
used
They're
everything that
interchangeable.
both companies make. Futaba generally is considered to have a little more redundant link than the Spectrums, but this is like, it might not even come into play with the model you're picking. I'd say go with what you like and with what is more available in your area. And if you're looking at buying any of the Spectrum bind and fly models, they have a ton out there. All the micros with the new AS3X, all their Park Zone, Hobby Zone brands are all bind and fly. You have to have a Spectrum for that. I have both because you'd be a
Right.
fool not to be able to buy those and
Right.
bind them in your transmitter and fly. So
Don't
take
buy
a
too.
look.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say it's 6 to 7 channels, probably enough, right? You don't need to
Yeah.
buy a 10 channel. You buy that later if you really get into it.
Yeah.
6 channel is more than enough for most people.
If I had to sum it up in one sentence, if you buy a Spectrum DX6i, you'll be set for the next 3 to 4 years easily for anything you're going to get into.
Right on. Great. So that's our comments for the week. And remember, if you want to get your question answered, post them up on down below. And if it's a good question and we think it's pertinent, we'll answer it on next week's show. On to the next section. All right. This is my personal favorite section. Maybe it's your personal favorite. Maybe you've already hit stop. But this is the rant section. And really, what's grinding my spur gear. So this week, what's grinding my spur gear? Wait, you asked me what's...
Is it bad mesh?
No,
Oh, that's a bad joke.
no, it's not bad mesh.
What is grinding your spur gear this week, Jeremy?
I'm glad you asked. You know what's grinding my spur gear, RC fans? It's people that have strong opinions about RC kits who don't own them. Let me elaborate. I post up a video about, or you read the forum threads, you read all this stuff. For example, on the XO1, right? Mm-hmm. All these morons are like, this thing's a piece of junk, blah, 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 blah. Well, try and find anybody posting up a video that actually has the XO1 in front of them and says they hate it. I can't find them. They might be out there somewhere, but it's not really about the XO1. We can say the Savage Flux HP. I didn't love that truck, but I have it, so I have a right to have an opinion. So if you're going across RC videos and you're watching something, don't just watch it to regurgitate. It's funny how many times I can basically think I've watched Squirrel's review or Jane's review, and I'll tell you what, I watch everybody's, and for people that go out of their way to say they don't watch other people's RC videos, that's BS. I watch it, and then I see exactly what they said regurgitated by a commenter and taking it as their own personal information. That's a dead giveaway that they don't own the kit.
Yeah.
That they've just said, oh, well, in my personal opinion, I find the A-arms to be kind of cheap and and it's like point by point what somebody else said. So you know what? Keep it to yourself. And that's what's grinding my spur gear. So that's it for this week's show. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to post your comments on down below if you want them answered or if you want to give us a kind word of encouragement. Make sure you crush that like button because we love it. Let's beat last week's video with almost 400 likes.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you guys so much. That's really awesome. It means a lot to us. And I don't know. We'll see you next week.
Next episode. Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Bye.